everybody out there, thanks for choosing our short explanation of the game Holi, Festival of Colors. It's Chris here from JMNC Games, and thanks for joining us today. If you haven't already done so, please take a moment to like and subscribe to our channel. We greatly appreciate that, as today we are taking a trip to India during one of their most vibrant and colorful festivals. The game is from Floodgate Games. It's for 2 to 4 players, ages 13 and up. The average game time is about 20 to 40 minutes, and the objective of the game is to be the player with the highest score by the time everyone runs out of color to throw. Now, let's take a look at what's inside the box.
There's the Courtyard Tower, 4 helper cards, 21 rivalry cards, 52 color cards, 100 color tokens, 25 for each player, 24 sweets tokens, 4 player markers, the scoreboard, the score marker for each player, and the first player marker. To set up, first you will need to construct the Courtyard Tower. It's pretty easy to do. Just follow the instructions located in the instruction booklet. Place each of the player markers in the lower level in the corners. Take the sweets tokens and place them in the middle level like this. 1 token on each of the spaces. Take the sweets tokens and place them on the lower level like this. 2 tokens on each of the spaces. Whoever is wearing the most colorful clothes will get to go first. Give them the first player marker.
Now, if this is your first time playing, we're going to go over the basics first without using the rivalry cards, but then later we'll go over how these are used in a normal game.
Each player should collect their color tokens. Place your scoring token by the scoreboard. Each player should collect their 13 color cards. They need to be shuffled and placed face down in front of the player. The player draws the top card into their hand. Each player should collect their helper card as well. On a player's turn, they should take up to 3 actions. Some are mandatory and others are optional. Then, at the end of their turn, they can draw up to their hand limit of 3 cards.
The actions can be done in any order. However, they cannot be repeated in the same turn. We'll go over each of these actions in more detail. The first is to throw color. This is the only mandatory action of the game. It must be done on every turn. If a player is unable to throw color, that is the end of the game for them.
In order to throw color, the player must select one of the cards in their hand. At the beginning of the game, you'll only have 1 card, so use that one. Take a look at the pattern on the card. There are 2 different types of cards. There are those that just have the color pattern, and those that have the pattern and this star-shaped symbol. First, let's start with the cards that have the stars on them. When you see the star, that is your player marker. You will need to throw your colors in the pattern indicated on the card. You can rotate the card in any direction in order to make it so that all of the colored spaces are free in the courtyard. If any of the spaces are already occupied by a color token, then you cannot throw color there. If you need to, you can move your player marker first in order to get to a space where you are able to throw the color. We'll cover more about moving in just a moment. Once you have found your place to throw, show your card to the other players and lay out your color tokens in the courtyard accordingly. The other type of cards do not have the star. These work in the same way, only this time your player marker can be any of the colored spaces shown on the card. So for example, you could be here, or here, or here. Once you have your move, you show your cards to your opponents and lay out your color tokens in the open spaces of the courtyard. An open space is either a space with no tokens, a suite, or any other player marker.
Remember, if a space is already occupied by a color token, you cannot throw color there. You'll have to find another play.
You should also remember that you can move your marker first if you wish in order to be in a spot where you can throw the color. Another objective you may want to think about when throwing your color is targeting another player's marker. If, when throwing your color would land on another player's marker, you would not place the color token into the courtyard. You would give that color token to the player you just hit. They keep it in front of them. You would then award yourself 1 point on the scoreboard for a direct hit of another player. This bonus point is only awarded when a player hits another player on their same level. Each color token given to an opponent will score you 2 points at the end of the game, so try and hit as many people as you can. Once you show your card and you place your color tokens, lay the card face up in front of you. Now, if a player is looking at their hand and they cannot find a good play with one of the 3 cards in their hand, they can play one of the cards face down into their discard pile. They can then place 1 color token in any empty space on the level that they are currently on. Upon your next turn, you would not be able to play a card face down. You can only do this following a turn that has a face-up card on the discard pile. Now let's talk about moving. Moving is optional on your turn. A player can move to any space on the level they are on, with the exception of a space that is already occupied by another player's marker. If they move to a space that has a suite on it, the player would collect the suites and place it in front of them. Players score points for suites collected at the end of the game. They would score 5 points for each player who has less suites than themselves. We'll go over more about that during the scoring section. If a player goes where there is a color token, they can collect that color token and place it in front of themselves. If it's their own color token, they can reuse the token during the game. If it is not their color token, they cannot. A player may move before or after they throw color, but not more than once in a turn. Another option during the turn is to climb up to a higher level. If a player's marker is surrounded by color tokens horizontally and vertically adjacent, then they can move their color marker up to the next level.
Now, the only time that this is not allowed is when a player has another player marker directly above them. A player can move, throw color, or move up in any order in which they choose, but they can only do each of these options once during their turn. And a player should also note that once they go up, they cannot go back down.
When you are on the higher levels and you throw color, you must see what is directly below where you have thrown your color. If there is a color token directly below your color token, then nothing happens. Your color token stays where you threw it. If there is nothing, a suite, or another player below your color token, then your color token falls to the level below. If it strikes another player, you give that player the color token and they keep it in front of them for the rest of the game. If you're throwing color on the third level and your color falls to the second level, you would then need to repeat the process of checking what is below on the lower level. If there is no other color token, then the color falls all the way down. Once a player has completed their turn, they draw a new card into their hand up to their hand limit of 3 cards.
The game ends for a player when they either run out of color to throw or they run out of cards in their hand. Play would continue, just skipping that player, until all players have reached the end of the game. Now, it's time to do the scoring.
First, look at the lowest level. Count your total number of tokens on that level and give yourself 1 point for each. Do the same for the second level. Give yourself 2 points for each token on that level. And then for the third level, give yourself 3 points for each token. Next, if any players have your color tokens in front of them, you score 2 points per token that is in front of another player. Next, count the suites. Players will score 5 points for each player who has fewer suites than themselves. So for example, if player 1 has 5, and player 2 has 5, player 3 has 3, and player 4 has 2, both players 1 and 2 would score 10 points, and player 3 would score 5 points.
Then, if you used any of the rivalry cards during the game, you would add in those scores, and the player with the highest score is the winner of the game.
And speaking of those rivalry cards, if you wish to use these at the start of the game, you'll need to choose up to 3 cards to be a part of the game. It can be done at random or by picking them. Players would need to familiarize themselves with each of the cards selected, as they can change the strategy of the game. Once everyone is familiar, play continues as normal, just taking into account any changes implemented by the cards.
So that's Holi, Festival of Colors. We sure hope you liked our video today, and if you did, if you could give us a like and subscribe, we greatly appreciate that. If you have any questions about Holi, Festival of Colors, please feel free to drop them down in the comments below, and I'll be sure to answer those as quickly as I can. But now, you should know the basics, so let's play.